Hey everybody, David Solomon here with you. Hope you're doing well. Hope all is good with everybody here as we are just getting ready to get ready for the weekend. And I'm just apologizing here as some people have been like poking me for the link for this. So if you bear with me 1 second, I am going to just forward it to a couple of people for today's rant. But yes, folks, here we are today. It is Friday, and we're getting ready, like I said, for the weekend, and hopefully you're enjoying yourself and all is good. Today, for those of you who haven't seen the rant in a little bit of a while, like we said, we changed the format this week a little bit. So 15 minutes is all we're gonna be permitted to rant at. So if you have any questions, comments, or whatever, you could put it up on Facebook Live. You could also put it up in our chat over here, and we are ready to rock and roll for this. So looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your comments from the previous rants. Those are awesome. Keep bringing them in. We're looking forward to hearing more and more and more about what you folks have to say and how you feel about our rants and subjects that you feel that myself, Stuart, will be talking about in the upcoming weeks. So let's start with today. Today's rant, I want to talk about how it is impossible to trust the news today. Now, I really don't care which side of the fence you sit on. I don't care which your political beliefs are or whatever. I am not here to politicize it at all. In fact, only the people who really know me where I would stand on the political spectrum, but for today's rant, I'm going to be right down the middle and prove that at the end that the news is struggling to be right down the middle. So my first exposure to the news happened when I was very young. My sister and I would sit at the dinner table with my parents. We had a TV in our home. And dinner time, was all about watching the news. My parents wanted to catch up with the news, so the first half hour was the local, and the second half hour would be the U.S. world news, whatever you want to call it. And when I grew up, when I was young, the first person that I remember seeing on TV was Walter Cronkite, very briefly. And then it jumped into the other three majors back in the day, ABC, NBC, CBS. So, you had Tom Brokaw at NBC, you had Dan Rather at CBS, and then you had the Canadian guy, Peter Jennings, over at ABC. And we interchanged, went back and forth in different stations or whatever. But at the end of the dinner time, I knew the news intimately. Canadian news, US news, world news, exposed to the nth degree. And until I moved out of my parents' home, that was the mainstay. Dinner time was all about watching the news. And in those days, that was where you consume the news. You got the 6 o'clock news, and then you got the 11 o'clock news. That was it. There was no, didn't have a lot of those 24-hour news networks and whatever. And the crazy thing is that we trusted what we heard. The news came out factually. The news was presented factually. There was no apparent bias. There was no agenda. It was factual. And sure, I could look back and say comments, but reality is we trusted the people who were delivering the news. Lo and behold, 24-hour news networks started to pop up and changed everything. It got to the point where there was not enough time, not enough news to fill up with facts. We had to fill up airtime with other things. And the scariest part is that come hell or high water, the more airtime needed to be filled, the more it was filled with opinions, not facts. And what we saw was that the news started to shift towards, let's call it agenda-based delivery. It wasn't about delivering the facts anymore. It was about delivering a message, influencing the message. And I don't care what you watch today. If you were to watch Fox on this side and CNN on this side, or whatever your inclination is, you would almost swear we're living in two completely different worlds. It doesn't make a lot of sense. News should be factual. And it's not. It is really no longer factual. It's about delivering what you think, what your opinion is. And it's more and more evident over the last number of years. And I'll pick on the US market, where really, truly, it's almost impossible to trust what's on the news. Because I don't care if you wake up first thing in the morning and you watch any one of those morning shows. I don't care if you watch the noontime shows, and even worse, the primetime shows. Because the later you get, the hardcore, opinionated people come on the show. Those same people have to fill in their hour or two or whatever, and they're bringing in people who can deliver what they need, either their message or somebody on the other side who's controversial enough to make that side look stupid. It's moronic. I mean, I can't watch this anymore. For every Laura Ingraham, there's a Don Lemon. I mean, you ever hear those two? They're both nuts. They're both on the polar opposites, pointing fingers at each other, how cracked the other side is, and left wing, right wing, it's so polarized. And they bring on the kind of people that will embarrass the other side and support their position to the nth degree. And no one's apologizing for it. For every Chris Cuomo, there's a Sean Hannity. I mean, look at what's going on. It's getting worse. And I'll give you an example of what I mean, and this just happened again in the United States this week. Governor Cuomo of New York is having a little bit of a scandal on his hands in relation to the deaths of, related to COVID in those seniors' homes. There's an allegation that he's hid the real numbers. It's a lot worse, and a scandal could just emerge from this whole thing. It's ugly if the truth were to be released. Fox, all over it. It's like hammer, 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 hammer. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, all the rest of those guys, barely giving it any time of day. Now let's flip it. Major storm in Texas. Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, Republican, flies off to Cancun with the family. Scandale par excellence. Here we go. Let's go rip them. Who's broadcasting this? CNN, MSNBC, CBS. Those liberal media guys are tearing Ted Cruz apart. Fox is kind of like, eh. What are we to believe are the most important stories that impact our lives? Bottom line is, they're spending more time pushing an agenda than delivering you facts. Think about that. Where are the facts? Where is the neutral, middle of the road information source that you can go for national, international news? Now, let me be clear. Those of you who know me, right? News is important. I was in the news business for 12 years. I still have relationships with people who are still in the news. It's not everybody. Community news, local news, a lot of those guys have tended to remain, factual, giving you the real deal in your community. But it's when you leave your community and you're starting to talk about state politics, provincial politics, national, international, it really doesn't matter. What matters, and what only matters, if you could believe it, is that the media, you can't trust them. And let me finish by saying this, and I'm glad my good friend Stuart joined me and back in. Folks, what's the solution? Because we cannot trust the media today. Sadly enough, I have yet to find a source of information. Social media is making things worse. I'm not even going to go into that. But the hardcore, the traditional news that you and I fell in love with growing up or should be relying upon are not reliable. I am forced to read both sides so that I can control what goes in through my head. And I can no longer trust those public guys, the media anymore. So I wish I had a solution, but I can't. So folks, the clear thing today is we need to start sending the message to the media that we're no longer going to accept this BS, agenda-based, biased media. And you cut the cord. You will tell them the only way you hurt them, advertising. You cut the viewers down, they'll get the message. Stop watching that garbage. Find out the facts. Don't believe the national news anymore. Stuart, with 5 minutes left.
What's
Welcome
up,
back.
David? It's
How
so
are you,
good
bro?
to be back. I've been listening to your rant, sitting in the waiting room trying to go, where are you, David?
Sorry, but offering a rant today. I couldn't cut out.
It's okay. Listen, you got a rant, you got a rave, and this time it's a rant, it's not a rave. Yeah, it's a hit squad. It's political assassination if you don't subscribe to the agenda-based media. It's tragic. It is literally, Walter Cronkite, who was left biased, by the way, reported the news, was a reporter. He looked for the story and spoke to the truth of the story. Didn't say, this is my narrative, and let me now make this all make sense to you. So the end result is everyone who is right of center is a villain, and let's villainize them. Let's create a hit list. Let's take their jobs. Let's fire them as lawyers. Let's hurt them. Let's hurt them. This is their comments. Look, I'd love to say I'm a centrist. I really would. I wish the world would be center. David, I hear exactly. If CNN and Fox had a child, would it be the bastard child of Howard Stern is the question. Because I think both of these news agencies have their pros and cons. Obviously, I think CNN has more cons because they actually villainize anyone that comes out publicly and assassinates them.
Yeah, Stuart, Stuart, I got to tell you, and you know me well enough. Yeah, we could say that, but I'm going to tell you that I think everybody has gotten into the assassination business. It's just done differently. I think that we are discrediting. We're not supporting and we're not coming out with fact. We're discrediting the other side. And I think that what's happened is that to prove your point, you bring in the people that support your message, and you're bringing in crackpots or what would be perceived as crackpots to discredit the other side. It's no longer, again, a fact is a fact. Report a news story properly I don't even want to tell you what's going on in universities when it came up to the journalists, like what they're being taught in university on what is right from wrong. It's no longer to report the facts. Is what is perceived to be right and to deliver it and to drive it. And it's the media's message to teach and educate you and me. I think we've derailed. The news has to be fact. And it's completely lost
So how do we do this? David, look, you and I have been friends for, I hate to say how many years because, the gray hairs show it's our age.
It's only more than 40.
Yeah, it's more than 40. So how do we do this? We starting this little rant network where we're going to take these issues and just talk about them as two educated young professionals. Well, maybe not young anymore. But what is the solution? I think it's getting more people to come in and rant and talk about it. If you don't tell people what to think, they'll have free thought. When we went to school, like you were talking about teachers the other day, we were taught by our teachers to be free thinkers, right? They were the people responsible who formed our desire to create things, build things, stand out of the crowd, don't follow, be a leader. Today, that's not the message, right? So to rant back is the messaging is all wrong. People need to lead and shouldn't be villainized for having a thought that is different. And that's the problem. How do we solve it? Is by doing what we're doing. Talk about an issue and don't care about the repercussions. Because you know what? We're not saying anything that's toxic. We're not these toxic liberals or progressives. They wish each other so much hatred. It's beyond explanation using the English language without having to use a beep, bleep, 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 right?
Well, but sir, let me just put it because we promised everybody we'll keep this down to 15 minutes. Is one of the things that I'm professing to people, and I tell this to my own children, because I've had many debates where I hear them echoing what they read on social media, what they echo through the news, is get your facts before you pass judgment.
Correct.
And I invite people here to the Rant Network to come and deliver the facts researched. When I delivered my message today, I did my homework. I'm not looking for people to come in here and just give me, their hardcore, unwavering opinion. It's all about, let's talk about the facts. And there will be other subjects where, of course, it'll be opinion based. But when it comes up to the news, opinion based is toxic regardless of which side of the fence you sit on.
Mm-hmm.
We will never be able to be a united country. You see the divisiveness in your country. We see the divisiveness in many other parts. I mean, I live in a divisive province. Why? Because the opinions are toxic, and one side needs to beat the other to win, and that is not going to help society today.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I really can't. It's 13 minutes and 9 seconds, 15 minutes. I'm proud that we're going to endeavor down this path of creating this little venue, and I just hope more people, comment back. Email us at rant@therantnetwork.com and come and be a part of the solution and not be a problem. There's two types of people, David. People that want to be part of a solution and people that want to cause problem. You're right. What they did to Ted Cruz, wrong. I want to put the pictures of Nancy Pelosi's refrigerator and showing her how she went to get her hair done where, she said no one should be going out. They do it every day.
Look, Stuart, we know, and again, we're a little bit off the topic here.
Yeah.
And we can rant about this, how our politicians are hypocrites. I will give you, I ranted about that the other day, that our politicians are not our mentors and should not be our the people we aspire to become, because they're flawed. We're all flawed. But when you're in power, and when you have a microphone in front of you, and I don't mean the beautiful Marantz one you have there, but if you look at the athletes today, and if you look at all this stuff that we talked about, and this is what happened to the news. The news are putting a microphone in front of a LeBron James, in front of an actor, in front, Barbara Streisand, when did she become the expert? She's not. She's giving you her opinion, but
Exactly.
The news treats it like fact. And
Exactly.
it's the same thing with Roseanne Barr. You put a microphone in front of Roseanne Barr, and look, she gets fired, but she gave her opinion, and everybody says, well, it's fact. No. Media, again, the role of media, and having worked in 12 years in the newspaper business, the role of the media, and they will tell you this, the journalists will tell you, is a neutrality. They are allowed to be confrontational. They're allowed to challenge. They're allowed to question. That's their job. They're allowed to investigate and research. It's all about finding the facts and delivering the facts, not an opinion.
But staying on your token, it's right now 15 minutes and 17 seconds. And I'm saying good day. See you later, David. Sign it off.
Ladies and gentlemen, love you. Thank you so much for joining us here. Stuart, welcome back. We look forward to ranting, guys, again next week. Look out on Facebook Live, or on Facebook, on the Rant Network page. We will tell you when we're out there, but we're looking forward to hearing from you guys all about the subjects you want to hear from us. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay well, stay safe.
Adios.